Ooh. Stronger! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a, well, very belated For Honor video. So, today, it's finally happened. They've actually, they've released the changes, and it's coming up very soon, like, 4 days from now at the time of making this video. But, yeah, so, a lot of people will ask me my thoughts and whatnot on the Conq changes, and first things first, thanks to Spliced for this gameplay in the background. I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it, so just using other people's footage. I'll link the, original thing in the description. And yeah, so I've just got the patch notes here. I'm going to go over them and, pop them up from time to time, but, just to go over them. But the general consensus is I like pretty much all of these changes. Like, whenever people ask me in the past what I think would, fix Conq, what would make him, stand up to the rest, thank you, Java. But, there were two things that I said specifically over and over again, and that was, A, make his charged heavy unblockable, which they've done, and B, make his lights faster. Those are the only two I could think, that's like the bare minimum to make Conq, really effective at high level, remove a useless move. Obviously, the charged heavy before this, as it is now, is pretty useless. But if it's unblockable, that will, make it fantastic and open up so many more options. And, yeah, so basically, they've just added everything I want and more. I mean, sure, they've taken away a few things, like superior block being gone it's pretty, that's probably the worst thing that's happened to him out of all the changes. But I'll be honest, it's really not that bad. Compared to all the stuff he's getting in return, I think it's pretty fair. So, just going to go over the changes now. So, yeah, so starting off with the charged heavy. Charged heavies are now unblockable, and there's no, like, the stupid multiple levels of charge or anything like that. It's just, it's either charged, which is unblockable, or it's not, in which case it would just come out as a regular heavy. So, makes it much easier to do. Obviously, it's going to charge up really quickly, so you've got access to basically an unblockable you can throw out at any point most of the time. Because, fully charging it only takes 900 milliseconds, which, I mean, in a fight that can be a lot, but if you're, like, in the staring contest that you have a lot of the time in matches, that's way, you're easily going to get that off. So, another thing they changed, which I was really excited about, is they've finally made the top heavy do more damage. I have no idea why they didn't do this before, because the top heavy was his slowest move, and it did the same amount of damage as every other heavy, so there was basically no point in using it. But now they've actually made it have more damage, which is fantastic. So another thing they've done is, obviously they've made it so that switching stance while charging your heavy is 100 milliseconds instead of 300. So that means that you can see Splice doing it now. When you change your guard back and forth, all that sort of stuff, you can do it much faster when you're in that sort of stance, and that means you can actually, it makes you a lot more offensive and a lot more defensive at the same time, because if you think about it, like, you can charge up your heavy while you're charging it up, you can mix them up by, flailing your guard from side to side and, confuse them, but another thing it means is you can more quickly switch to the side you're being attacked from, so you can let your heavy go, you'll block it, and smack them with the unblockable heavy. So that's, opening up a lot more doors already, and this is just the one move that's been changed. Thankfully, it's the one I wanted. So, another thing they've changed is they've changed it so you can no longer light attack while charging, and as people never really charged in the first place, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so something that's really, really fantastic, which I also wanted for the charged heavy, is now you cannot be guard broken while you're charging it. So there's no, like, real risk to charge. Basically, what the devs want is they want you to use the charged heavy. They want you to use it a lot. You know, it's a key, well, it was supposed to be a key part of his kit, and now it actually seems like it will be, because, you know, if you can't be broken while you're guard broken while you're charging, the only options people have to get you out of it is to either unblock, you know, hit you with an unblockable, hit you with an attack, which is really risky for them because you can just block it and smack them with the heavy. So yeah, it's in a lot. Sorry, it's in a much better place, is what I'm trying to say. You know, I really like the idea they're going for with all these changes. Well, just this one change in particular. This is like my favorite one they've done. So, okay, getting on to the other part of it. So the superior block has been reworked. So that's the next thing in the patch notes. And this is what a lot of people are like saying, oh, Conqueror's ruined, he doesn't have superior block, how the hell are you going to compete against Centurion and blah, 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 blah. It's not so... It's really not that bad, I'll be honest, because sure, against Centurion and other characters that can spam heavies at you, it can be tricky, but then you've still got other options that I'll get into later, which sort of make up for it. So, going over it now, it says, Conqueror no longer has passive superior block. It's been replaced with the same as regular block properties, blah, 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 blah. Conq has retained superior block on heavy openers, so that means that whenever you throw a heavy, you'll... you've probably seen it in a lot of team fights if you ever played Conq. Whenever you throw out your heavy, it will... you know, people will hit your shield while it's coming out, so it's just easier to... If you've done it, you know what I mean. That's sort of the only way I can describe it. Fully charged heavy opener, so that's the unblockable, obviously. Front and side dodges, so that's really key for me, because that means he's still got his deflect, which is my basically my go-to tools are deflect, zone, and just shield bash. Those are my go-tos at the moment, and that's probably the best way of playing him for now. And, you know, I can see it being like that. You're going to have to zone a lot more, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll get into that. So, full block stance also has superior block now, which finally makes it a useful move, because there was basically no point in using it beforehand, because you just use full block, get beaten around all the, you know, you get bashed from side to side and take a ton of chip damage, but you could easily block where all attacks are coming from if you just have not common sense, but just practice and reactions, more or less. So, getting into the next one, new move, shield uppercut. All heavies can be cancelled into the new move, shield uppercut. Now, you can see it in the footage happening quite a lot, but, you know, obviously because it seems like quite a good spammable, like, unblockable mix-up type thing. And then Splice doesn't do this because he always hits them with the shield uppercut and goes for a heavy afterwards, which isn't guaranteed by the look of it. And so, you know, imagine all the times you could do some serious damage just by lighting after every single one. Like, imagine in this gameplay, you see Splice, imagine if he used a light attack after every single shield unblockable. He would have killed this Kensei like 10 times over. So it's an 800 millisecond attack, so it's on the slowish side, but you know, it can be hard to react to, as it's an unblockable. Does 10 stamina damage, so same as the shield bash now. Has immunity to guard break, which is starting at 100 milliseconds into the strike, which is good. It means you can't be guard broken out of it. It's affected by the shield basher feat, which is nice. Hit recovery is 700 milliseconds, so you get to, well, I don't know, you get to stance change default defense at 600 milliseconds. No idea what that particularly means. Miss recovery is now 700 milliseconds. Cool. But from what I see is after you miss, even if you miss the shield uppercut, you can also go into a heavy afterwards, which basically means you're safe when you do it. Because if the enemy attacks, you'll have that superior block property on the side you're attacking from. So if you read they're going to attack you with like a dodge attack or something, you can hit them with a heavy. If they go for a guard break, they'll get hit by a heavy, or you could cancel the heavy into another shield uppercut, I think, from what I've seen. So yeah, you know, lots more options. I really got to go into detail on this when the changes come out, but, you know, they're looking good. Conq's chains. They've all been reworked, so now basically Conqueror can go from basically everything is an infinite chain now. You can go from lights into heavies, heavies into lights, and you can throw them out an infinite amount of times, as long as you have stamina. So, I'm basically the theme of all these reworks to all the characters seems like you can attack from anywhere at any time you want, more or less. Like if you look at the Kensei, who can now go from any heavy into any soft feint, side heavy or side light, or vice versa, blah blah blah. Berserker with hyper armor on feinting for some reason. So yeah, it's that seems to be the theme going on with this. Shield Bash can be followed with any light or heavy, so that means you can go from light into Shield Bash, which is good. But the problem with Shield Bash now is it doesn't look like you can get a guaranteed heavy off of it, but still, you can get a guaranteed light, and if you slam them into a wall, you get a guaranteed heavy. So yeah, it's kind of fair if you can get it off a light. So light attacks are now 500 milliseconds, were 600, which is much better, and all of them do 15 damage instead of 12. So this is going to mean that you can kill people when they've got 1 bar of health. You can kill them with 2 lights instead of 3, which is much better. So obviously matches will be a lot faster pace, which is what all these changes seem to be aiming towards. They'll make the matches more fast paced because you've got the unblockable heavy, lots of damage, comes out quickly, you can throw it out quite a lot. Lights do more damage, so every time you land a shield bash uppercut or a random shield bash, you'll do a bit more damage. All good stuff, all good stuff. So full block stance cancel. Now they've basically mean, oh yeah, another thing that people were going on at me about is like, oh, you can't feint lights anymore. He's ruined. He can't be played. But honestly, I never feinted lights. Like, I very rarely feinted lights because feinting heavies does the exact same thing. It costs a bit more stamina, obviously, but feinting heavies does the exact same thing. And the only advantage you get from feinting lights is most of the time the biggest thing you could get from it was a light attack, another light attack. So you feint from one side, hit with the other with a light attack, and that is incredibly risky to do, and you don't get very much reward at all, because you just feint from one side, ooh, I'm attacking with a light from the other, what happens? Most of the time they'll block it, sometimes they'll parry it and get you with a full punish, which is, imagine you're fighting a Centurion, that's 60 damage right there, and all you're going to get in return is 12 damage. So feinting lights is pretty useless, in my opinion. I never did it, and it seemed to work out just fine for me. Full block stance. Right, so when successfully blocking an attack from full block stance, Conq can now connect to a new move, Flail Uppercut. Now, Splice doesn't show it here. I'll put some footage in the background of it, because it's quite a cool looking move, actually. So it's 30 damage, which is really, that's a hell of a chunk of damage. The main problem is it's from full block stance. So I think you can't get it off blocking a light attack. I think you can only get it off blocking a heavy attack with full block stance. So I'll be honest, it seems like a move that you're not going to use very often. But when it does happen, it'll be quite satisfying. So just that, there's more on that move later. So Conqueror no longer can shield bash, repose, dodge, or basic attack during full block stance. So yeah, the main thing for me, which I really don't like about this, is you can't dodge out of it. My favourite thing about going into full block stance, cancels or anything like that, is you can just dodge out of it. And if someone attacks, you dodge into it and punish them, or anything like that. So basically it seems like once you're in full block stance, you're committed to full block stance. So I don't really see much point in using it, because from what I've seen, if you full block stance block a light, you wouldn't get a heavy, and it's too risky to full block stance a heavy, because someone could easily feint it into a guard break or another attack, which would completely screw you up. So I don't really see much use for full block stance apart from dodging out of it. Sorry, not dodging out of it. Using it to feint heavies, but I don't know. I'll have to test that more. So new move, Flail Uppercut, which is obviously the one that comes out from blocking an attack. So it's 500 milliseconds. Now, I'm not sure what the recovery on hitting a light with when you're doing the full block blocking a light with the full block stance. I'm not sure what the enemy recovery is, but if it's more than, if it's 500 milliseconds or more, you'll be able to hit them with it, but I somehow doubt that's the case. It uses the heavy input, does 30 damage, can execute. Pretty straightforward move, but I don't think it'll be as useful as the developers think it will be. Shield Dash Mix-Up. So after a hit, from a light attack, after a hit, branching to a light attack is now at 400 milliseconds. No idea what that means, but branching a heavy attack and full block stance is now 400 milliseconds, worth 300 milliseconds. Right. don't really get what that means, but basically after a shield bash mix-up, sorry, after you hit someone with a light and then go into shield bash mix-up, which is the move where you hit them and then charge into them, Splice is doing it quite a lot, you can get a guaranteed light, not a guaranteed heavy, which you used to be able to get, but only a guaranteed light. It's got better tracking though, which I really like, so it's going to be much harder to dodge out of the way of it, especially when they're out of stamina, so you can go from the infinite light chain or infinite heavy chain, whichever you want to do, into a shield bash mix-up, which will be much harder to dodge away from, so you can get another guaranteed light and go back into the whole mix thing, as long as you have stamina. Your immune to guard break property now starts at 100 milliseconds. I don't know how useful that will be. Hit recovery is now 700 milliseconds, was 800, so you recover... Oh, sorry, they recover faster after you hit them, so it's... or slow. I have no idea what that means. To be honest, I'm just going, like, skimming through these patch notes, not really looking at them in too great detail. I'm saving that for when I actually get my hands on the character. But, yeah, so... Now onto the Shield Bash, which is the thing that's basically my go-to move all the time, Shield Bash. That's the main way of getting, well, was the main way of getting damage as Conqueror in the past. So, forward dodge now branches into Shield Bash. Ooh, so it goes from 100 milliseconds, between 100 and 500 milliseconds is going to be the new one, and it was 300 milliseconds, 300 to 500 milliseconds. So that means that you can go into Shield Bash faster. So it's gonna really add layers to the is he gonna shield bash or not when I'm out of stamina type game. So while it does less stamina damage, it says at the bottom, well, you know, not at the bottom, in the middle it says it now does 10 stamina damage instead of 20. That's less, but I think you're still going to be able to bully people when they're out of stamina with that, with the change. It just seems like, sure, it's half as bad, half as good, but still pretty effective. And also, so basically, another really good thing that I quite like is increase forward movement by 1 meter. Now that's really good because that means that off a deflect. So imagine you're fighting a shinobi. So a lot of shinobis, they throw out, they just spam lights because they could for free. They spam a light, and if you deflected and shield bash, you know, you'd usually get the light, but against shinobi, they could actually dodge back out of it. Now, this change seems to mean that if you deflect an attack and shield bash into them, which is what you usually, well, with the, you know, the best way of defending as Conqueror is deflecting, it seems like that light is always going to be guaranteed. There's no way of dodging out of it or anything like that. So if you get the deflect, you'll get the hit, which I think is good. So miss recovery is now 700 milliseconds. It was 600, so they've slowed it down a bit. So I think that means that you can actually get guard broken more easily out of it. But, you know, I don't know. I have to look into it more. So now getting onto the charging shield crush. Now this is an example of a move that has just... Okay, so imagine Shigoki's Oni charge. Remember when that used to knock people down and that was ridiculously OP? Because people would just spam it over and over and over again. Like the Raider charge. Remember in the tournament where Raider charge was just spammed and abused and was awful? Yeah, basically they've done the same treatment to a move, as you know, you'd imagine as bad as that, to a move that wasn't actually that good. So, more or less, now charging Shield Crush is useless. Unless you're, like, charging into someone that's being, you know, that's fighting someone else, it's useless, because you can't get a guaranteed damage off of it, more or less. So the hit recovery is now 300 milliseconds longer. No longer forces Conqueror out of lock, blah, 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 blah. Well, at least it does 10 stamina damage instead of 0, which is something, really not useful. And it moves them 0.5 meters further backwards. So you cannot get guaranteed damage off it, which is really stupid considering that if someone's running away, that's basically your only method of catching them. And, like you imagine if a Peacekeeper is out of stamina and they're just dodging back, dodging back, dodging back. You can't catch up to them unless you sprint at them, and the only move you can do off of that is Charging Shield Crush or Guard Break. If you hit them with the Charging Shield Crush, you get nothing now. So it's just really, really pointless move. Like, no one uses the only charge anymore. It's basically, that's happened to the Charging Shield Crush. You won't be able to use it unless you're in a team fight or anything like that, because I thought it was actually fair before, because if you landed a heavy and you didn't go into the chain afterwards, the opponent would get a guaranteed guard break on you. So you'd get a heavy hit on them, but they'd also get a guard break on you, so they'd get a heavy as well. So I don't know why they've ruined it, but have to not use it anymore. Top heavy, damage increase, blah blah blah. Now, the zone attack. Now the zone is one of my top 3 most used moves. I can safely say Conqueror's Zone is probably one of the best in the game, and now with this change, I actually think Conqueror's Zone is the best in the game. Best zone attack in the game, because now when it's activated, you instantly go into full block stance, so, you know, there used to be a gap where he had no defense when he was doing the zone, but now that's gone, so it's better. Conqueror can be parried on the second hit or later hit, so to be honest, Conqueror's Zone isn't meant to be used to just spam and just hold down. It's best used to swing once, cancel it, swing once, cancel it, swing once, cancel it. That is where its strength is. So it's 10 damage, but oh, and it's also no longer interrupted by blocking a minion hit. So what's happened now is you see Splice using it, and it looks, oh, it just looks amazing. Conqueror's Zone now has superior block. So all those times where, so a lot of the time, I'll see someone attacking me, I'll zone to try and block it, because if you zone attack, you actually block faster than if you go into full block or anything like that. So it's just, it's basically a free all block that's completely safe to do. And what's really good about it is, so now, as the game is as it is, when someone attacks me, I'll do my zone attack. Chances are they'll hit my block, but my zone won't hit them, so it'll just be like I blocked them, which is, you know, it's fine, it doesn't do anything. But now what's going to happen is if someone hits your block while you're zoning, every single time, because you only really trade blows with people like 50% of the time when you do your zone attack and someone attacks you now in the game, but with this, 100% of the time, every time someone attacks you and you zone attack, they'll get hit, which is fantastic. So I think the idea behind this move, I think it's going to get nerfed if I'm honest, but at the moment, it seems like it's going to be little but lots of guaranteed, little but often guaranteed damage, because it's only 10 damage, but the thing is you can throw it out as much as you want and be completely safe when you do it. And if someone does parry it, they'll only get a heavy, so it'll be like acting as parrying a heavy, so they'll only be able to get a light off, which is, you know, nice. You get to throw out an attack that does light damage, and the worst thing that happens is you get parried and you get hit by light in return. So it's like, I think this zone attack is now going to be his best move out of all of them. And honestly, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can go, I can't really go further into it without having a hands-on on the game, but your hands-on on the character. So yeah, wait a few days for that. And what I'm going to do is on the 15th, when the changes come out, I'm going to be streaming all day to find out all the stuff with the new characters. I really want to try out Conqueror and Highlander in particular. Those are the 2 characters I'm really interested in. So yeah, come on down. I'll be on Twitch, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sorry about the delayed video. I should be uploading more frequently now. It's just that work and shit is very busy. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to see you in the next one. Don't forget to check out my stream. And yeah, see you there. Bye.